Jo Swinson.
Madam Deputy Speaker, and it's a real pleasure to follow the Honourable Lady for Walsall South. I always find these debates a little bit of a challenge because we have the topic of International Women's Day and we've got 90 minutes and it's basically, you know, half of the world discuss in an hour and a half. And of course you're always left in the situation where there's far too much to say and you can't say it all. So I just wanted to share 3 stories of 3 international women who I have had the pleasure to meet over the last 3 years. And the first one was in 2010. When I went to Grozny with the esteemed Labour peer Lord Judd to investigate and look into the human rights situation in Chechnya. And out of all of the different meetings that we had with high-profile people and human rights ombudsmen and so on, the most memorable was a mother. I remember she came in to see us. She was in a thick black woolen coat, dark pink patterned headscarf, and she sat down and she placed into our hands photographs of her brother and her son and her daughter, who had all been disappeared. Not sure whether they were rotting in some Siberian jail on trumped-up charges or whether they'd been assassinated in the executions that take place. But what struck me was her bravery, that she, at risk, great risk to herself, made sure that she wanted to come and tell that story to these visiting parliamentarians because she wanted to make sure that same experience wouldn't be happening to others. And it is still a source of great distress that there is still that culture of impunity and those human rights abuses within Chechnya, but there are women like that who are courageously making sure that they tell the story. And last year, actually at an event attended by various members and organised by the Honourable Member for Stourbridge, I met Saleh Ghaffar, who is the Afghan Executive Director of the Humanitarian Assistance for Women and Children of Afghanistan. And she spoke movingly about the battles she is facing to get justice for women and, let's face it, girls who are married off at the age of 12 or 13, effectively then treated as slaves, and for the slightest offence, as it were, can suffer horrendous violence and there is no justice and no redress. And again, this is work that is done at great risk. And she came and she was going on to the Bonn conference, which I know my Honourable friend the Minister attended, to make sure that the voice of women in Afghanistan was heard. And this year, in fact, just last month, along with the member for Sheffield Heeley, I went to Kurdistan in Iraq, where we spoke with women parliamentarians. And the Kurdish MP, Shounam Barjani, was absolutely inspirational when she spoke about the battle that she had fought, bringing together the women MPs within Kurdistan, increasingly the clerics, and then ultimately getting the support of the president there to tackle this issue of violence against women and get a law passed which would ban female genital mutilation within that part of the country. And that was not an easy alliance to build, but it just, to me, was so inspirational to see what was being done. And indeed, in chatting to these women MPs in Kurdistan, to actually share many of the frustrations that they face within their parliament and issues around confidence and so on, which I am also very much often hearing from women in politics here in the UK. Those are just 3 women out of the 3 and a bit billion, but I think that they are representative. And in every country around the world, whether it's journalists or campaigners or mothers or representatives or activists or carers, entrepreneurs, friends, there are women who are making that difference. And we know that women are suffering too. In fact, many of the problems around the world, whether it's climate change, whether it's poverty, whether it's conflict and the impact of violence, it is so often women that bear the brunt. But I think there is cause for optimism when you look at those stories of those women. When you look at the women that we see in our constituencies every day who are making such a fantastic difference in our communities. When you look at the women who inspired, in many cases, the Arab Spring, and these women that I've shared the stories of today, I think that gives us some cause for hope for the future, that women are making a real difference. It's absolutely right that we take this opportunity of International Women's Day to celebrate these women and redouble our commitment for all of us to equality at home and abroad. Yeah.